do that is they have these enzyme inhibitors which actually block digestion. The main ones are phytic acid and lectins, but literally there's hundreds of these compounds in all the nuts and seeds and all the different plants that you eat. Even like, for instance, wheat. You know, it's difficult to digest for the same reason. They're trying to spread their children. So what we do by germinating them, we soak them in water, which gives them the signal, okay, we're not in defense mode anymore, it's time for us to grow. And when they do that, they drop those defense mechanisms. It greatly reduces the lectins, the phytic acid, all that stuff. And they're like, oh, we're time to grow. And when they go into that mode, they become more digestible and therefore more nutritious. So that's why all of our seeds and nuts should be soaked. You'll see, or sprouted. That's the term for it.
How long about?
It varies from nut to nut, and you can find it on the internet, and the seeds too, but generally speaking, like cashews and macadamia nuts are 8 hours. So what I like to do is put them in like before I go to bed, and then wake up, I take them out of the water. If you leave them too long, I don't know at what point, but I've done it before, what happens is the nuts will actually start to, especially the cashews, they exude this goop. I don't know, it's like glue almost. And you can wash all that stuff off and then sprout them and stuff, but then their flavor is completely gone, which is not a good situation. And yeah, no, my whole thing too, with flavoring this stuff, especially with the nut company, with the Sprouted Nut Company, is basically to complement the natural flavor of the nuts. Because I've tried all the other, like a lot of the other commercial ones, and basically they have so much seasoning on there, you don't know what you're eating. Has anyone ever had that experience? Show of hands. At the end, you have like this giant thing of seasoning. You're like, I could have just eaten styrofoam. I don't even know what this is, you know? So I like to complement the natural flavor of the nuts. Okay, what are we gonna do for sweetener? Dates? Maple syrup?
Dates.
Stevia?
Dates.
Okay, dates it. I think it's our last 4 dates. We're gonna put 4 dates. We'll go super sweet on this one. So this is like a team building exercise, right? What's that? Go team, yeah, exactly. Because together we can. Because whose planet is it? Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Whose planet is it?
Our planet.
That's right. So what we realized is that we need to really take charge, right? Because if we're waiting for someone else to do it, oh, look at that, an ant. Do we want an ant in there or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's a really great thing? If any of you guys have a farm, you already know this, but there's these animals, they're called chickens, and they're really good at cleaning up your farm and keeping all the creatures out. Do we want salt or no salt?
No. No.
I would say salt. Hands? Okay. We get salt. Fat or no fat? All right. You guys are catching on here. Vanilla?
Yes.
Oh, you guys are smart. I don't have any cinnamon, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a good additive.
Hey, what does the vanilla do?
Vanilla just gives it a little bit extra flavor. Makes it yummy. How about this? Do we want to put any of this coconut in here? A little bit? Okay. Let's do that.
Just do it.
You're like, what are you going to do with that coconut? People waste this part, and this is actually really good for you. Okay. It's going to take me a little bit to get this out of here, but I can do it. I know I can. Yeah. It's early, right? There's no... Did anyone do any yoga yesterday? Or today? After this. Yeah, I had some good yoga session yesterday with Kishan Shah, a buddy of mine. He taught. Okay, I'm just gonna put one coconut in there. Do we want one or two?
Two.
Probably. All right. How are we feeling on the flavors? Are we liking them? Is this something you guys can use at home? Okay. Do you think the process is too complicated? Does everyone have a dehydrator? No. Yeah, some people?
Yeah.
The dehydrator, oh yeah, so some of you missed the first part. Basically, after you soak the nuts in water to activate them, you can put them in a dehydrator. Depending on the nut, like most of them are about 24 hours to dehydrate. And that way you can store them like these. These are already sprouted. If you don't have a dehydrator, it's not crucial, but it actually makes it a lot easier. And at the end, when you have your dehydrated nuts, you can store them for 6 months like that, as opposed to just sprouting them and not dehydrating them. Then you're stuck with mold issues because they're super moist. And you can put them in the refrigerator and keep them for 3, maybe 5 days. But
Would the oven work?
you can do it in the oven too, on the lowest temperature. It's not ideal, but here's the thing: you can go on Craigslist and buy like a dehydrator, the old ones, the brown ones with multiple trays. That's what I started with. It's like $40. You want to get the super beefy industrial one? Those stainless steel ones are like $200, and then there's an Excalibur. She's a pretty good brand. It's reliable. I think that one's over $300. So depends on what you want to spend. There's one that I'm kind of a little bit jonesing over. It's like a massive one. It's like $18,000, but you may not need that. I need that for this.
Can you just vacuum seal it and put it in the freezer?
Well, when they're moist, I don't know if vacuum sealing will work so good because it'll just like kind of squish them all down.
And then put it in the freezer?
Yeah, you could try it. I'll give you permission to try that, and next time you can let me know if it works. He was saying that maybe you could vacuum seal it and then freeze it. But yeah, maybe you can make like a nut ice cream with that. Oh, yeah. Sorry, there's not enough for you guys. Okay, this is the crowd-sourced nut milk. Here's another one. Thanks, John. Let's give a hand for our assistants, John Dunn. Yes, they're helping get this thing off the ground. Okay, so I think we probably have enough for one more. Although we're out of dates, so we're gonna have to go something different. Do we want to do a stevia one? Everyone's like, eh. Stevia, okay. I had a thing with stevia. I wasn't really digging it until I started adding fat with it. And that really helps it bring it around, because although it tastes sweet, it tastes like really kind of, it's like it's lacking something, right?
So would you put just like a few drops in?
For this size, I would put like half a dropper,
Okay. Half.
maybe a quarter. And then if that wasn't enough, I'd put a little bit more. But when you add the fat, it really helps stevia, because I was trying to do stevia in my coffee and it was like, nah.
How's that like diet
It's
taste?
yeah, exactly. It tastes like artificially flavored or something, even though it's a natural thing. But the fat, I found, really helps it to like develop. Well, the main thing is it's not sugar. Most of us are eating way too much sugar, so often we have this thing called Candida overgrowth, which basically is a fungus that lives in our digestive tract, and it's normally there and it's okay for it to be there, but since we're eating so much sugar, it gives the right environment for them to flourish. And the problem is they can overtake our gut and they start causing all kinds of problems. I mean, it's like a mold inside your body. Not that great. Does anyone else have any questions, by the way?
How do you feel about bananas or cacao?
Yeah, bananas or cacao? Yeah, you could definitely add cacao or bananas. I've been like really watching my sugar intake, so I've been avoiding bananas. And mostly the only fruit I've been, personally, this is just my personal thing, the only fruit that I really eat right now is berries, because they're high in antioxidants and low in sugar. I've just been really mindful of my sugar intake. And sometimes I do sugar cleanses where you don't eat any sugar for like a month. It's a really hard thing to do.
How do you feel after that?
I feel great. After about three days to a week, I feel really horrible. And then you kind of go through that phase where that fades away, and then, what's that? Oh yeah, thank you. That's okay. It's just the last batch of the same stuff. Yeah, so I just personally try to avoid sugar, and if you can do like a 30-day fast, it helps kill off those candida. Look at that, one piece. Are we adding coconut to this one?
Coconut oil.
Now we're gonna do cashews. Since we just did a mac one, let's do it. Again, pecans and almonds are really good too. Actually, you want to try a pecan one? Let's do that. I have some pecans over here. Yeah. Whoa. Watch out for the speaker. Yes. Have it. I have experimented with the keto diet. I'm not doing that right now. I usually just eat a paleo diet. But you know, there's a huge debate around animals in our food, right? So ideally, and I haven't gotten to this place yet, but I would rather just harvest my own meat as opposed to getting it from the store, because I think there's something to connecting with nature in that way. When you go out and say hunt an elk, you really bring your consciousness into it's actually taking a life, so you value it more, as opposed to when you go to Ralph's or whatever and you buy like a steak and you don't realize that an animal died for that. I mean, you do on some very distant level, but I think it's really important to be mindful of that and know the impact, you know. And actually people kind of have a fit about hunting. I know, how many vegans are here? People are like, oh, that's it, I'm not listening to this guy anymore, he hunts. But if you think about it, it's really the most ethical way you can source your meat. And it's actually 100% sustainable because it's actually nature's gift. Or at least, in my opinion, it is.
But we didn't always eat meat.
Huh?
We didn't always eat meat.
We always ate meat.
Like humans, as humans, do you think we all in this hunting thing?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Do you think we always hunting? There was not a time that we were like just really eating just vegetables in the wild or something like that?
I'm not exactly sure what your question is.
That's okay.
Okay,
Forget about it.
sorry.
I think she's saying, did we always eat meat?
Oh.
Our ancestors.
I mean, I personally think we did. There's a great book on this. Do you guys Audible? Anyone do Audible? There's a book called, what the heck is it called? The Vegan Myth. It's about this woman who spends like 30 years as a vegan. She starts getting all these medical problems from being a vegan. And she was like the hardcore vegan. She was on all the messaging boards and all that stuff. She started growing her own garden. It had snails. And she's like, she would actually take the snails and put them in a container and then go release them like in the woods. She didn't want to kill snails. And what she finally realized was that her diet was killing her. And on one of the messaging boards that she was on the internet, this is pretty funny. Someone suggested, because they showed like some animals, like a lion eating like, I don't know, a gazelle or something. And they're saying, oh my God, that's so cruel to the poor gazelle. Do you think we should like put some fences in to prevent them from eating them? Like, does that make sense to you? That's not nature's way. Like, what are the lions going to do? Become vegans?
We're not lions.
We're not lions. You're right. Okay. So this one. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have stepped into the vegan debate. That's a.
Yeah.
Very controversial.
That's danger zone for sure. But you know, I have my beliefs, and then you don't have to buy into them. But I do think that hunting is a more ethical way for sourcing your meat. And again, I look to nature. Animals eat other animals, so I kind of just use that as my basis. Okay, so this one should be sweet already because this is actually, so this is one of my flavors. This is maple pecan, so it has maple syrup and vanilla bean already in it. Super delish. So I put that in as the base, and I added a little bit more vanilla and some fat. Let's see what we get. And again, if you feel like you need to strain out all the little bit of fiber, you can have this nut bags or cheesecloth to do that. Did you guys have a question? Hey, hang on one sec. Let me. What's your question?
I just think like vegan is very modern.
I'm sorry.
It's the health and it's modern.
Oh, I'm using coconut oil
It's not even
for fat.
about the killing.
You can use.
The digestion.
I haven't ever tried using butter or anything like that, but if you wanted to, I think you probably could.
Does straining out the fiber reduce like nutritional content?
I'm sure it does because it takes something out, right? Something's going away. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't ever do that, so I'm not really concerned with it. We're gonna sell some right here afterward. So if you want to buy them, that's gonna be the time. We're not in the vending thing. They decided to pass. So this needs more sweet. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. So I'm gonna use maple syrup because we're out of dates. And actually, the product that I make, the maple pecan, it has some sugar in it from maple syrup, but it's not like crazy sweet like it tastes kind of like candy, but it's not as sweet as candy. So if you have kids, they go nuts for it. Literally. Pun intended. All right. Let's see how this one came out. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, who wants to take this one around? Thanks, buddy. All right. How are we doing on the nut milks? We still digging them? Sprouted nut milks. Now we all know about why we sprout. We've got a handle on that. Yeah, because we want to take care of our vessel, right? Whose vessel is it? That's right. Whose world is it? Our world. And we start thinking of it in that way and shift our perspective. And here's a major breakthrough I had recently. I'm just going to share this with you. So, as a firefighter, right, you think about it. You're like, oh, I'm not scared of crap, man. I run into burning buildings and we drag people out, right? You know, I had that attitude. And then that career started coming to an end, and I was getting into business. I was scared. I was really like, oh my God, this is scary, because I had no idea. I'd been doing the same thing for over 20 years. And what I realized was, it's just an energy, right? It's an energy. When I was thinking about running into a burning building, to me that was exciting. I was like, yeah, let's get in there, you know, get low and do all that stuff. And I was able to shift my perspective towards business and see it as that same energy. If you see it that way, it's fear. But if you see it as exciting, it's exciting. It's just an energy. And the cool thing is you have a choice on your perspective. And your perspective is the most profound thing that you can shift. If you're able to shift your perspective, you can change your entire world and it's free, it's easy, and anyone can do it. And the first thing people say is, oh, I can't do that. And if you're saying that and thinking that, guess what? You can't. So you have to learn to actually believe that you can. That's the first thing. And then just do it. And you know, sometimes you fall back into your old pattern, and that happens, but you just keep thinking, oh, wait a minute, I'm in control here. This is my experience, and going into business is not scary. It's freaking exciting. So if you guys can get your head around that, then that'll really help you, I think. I think it helped everyone. Yeah. So I think I'm just about out of ingredients and recipes. Did you guys find this useful?